All right, strap in, everyone, because things are about to get seriously strange. We're diving deep into the world of Dandadan, and specifically, well, the Turbo Granny arc, obviously. You guys sent in some wild stuff for this one, and let me tell you, this manga, it's in a league of its own when it comes to paranormal adventures.
Absolutely. Dandadan just nails it with this
Ah.
crazy blend of genres. You've got your action, your humor, horror, even a touch of romance. It all gets thrown into this supernatural blender, and what comes out is just pure entertainment gold.
It's like the creators took everything fun and decided to just crank it up to 11. But at the heart of it all, we've got our two main characters, Momo Ayase and Ken Takakura, better known as Okarun. Now, Momo, she's something else. Skeptical, strong-willed, and, as we'll find out, hiding some serious psychic potential.
It's a fun twist on the usual dynamic, right? You'd expect the occult-obsessed kid to be the psychic one, but nope. Momo's the one who believes in spirits and the unseen. While Okarun, he's all about aliens, baby. And that clash of beliefs, that's what kicks off this whole insane adventure.
Like that classic question, what if the things we dismiss as fantasy are actually real? And what happens when two people with completely opposite worldviews get slammed face first into those truths?
And that's where Dandadan just shines. It takes this simple premise and injects it with so much heart, so much humor, so much genuine creepiness that you can't help but get sucked in. And the setting, the setting just adds to the whole experience.
Yeah, talk about Shono City, right?
Yeah.
I love how Dandadan takes this ordinary, everyday town and turns it into this, well, this haven for all things paranormal. You've got your convenience stores, your schools, your typical neighborhoods. But underneath it all, there's this hidden world of ancient energy, vengeful spirits, even some unwelcome extraterrestrial guests.
It's that contrast that makes it work so well. It's like the manga saying, hey, the supernatural, it's not just in some spooky castle in Europe. It's right here, in your backyard, under your floorboards, maybe even in your ramen.
Which brings us to Okarun's little trip to the abandoned Nagi hospital, right? If you're looking for proof of the paranormal, an abandoned hospital is practically a rite of passage.
You're practically begging for a ghost encounter at that point. Although, in Okarun's case, maybe begging isn't the right word. Because he doesn't just stumble upon a ghost. He runs headfirst into the legend that is Turbo Granny, a force of nature in floral print, if you will.
And she does not mess around.
Not even a little bit.
Okarun learns that the hard way, trust me. We're not talking your average spooky curse here. Turbo Granny, she hits him with something far more creative.
Dandadan does not shy away from the weird, and that's putting it mildly. Okarun, bless his heart, he keeps his personality, his mind, but physically. Let's just say he ends up as this bizarre, unsettling, and undeniably hilarious fusion of himself and, well, Turbo Granny.
It's grotesque, it's comedic, it's kind of genius, really.
Oh, it perfectly captures the tone of Dandadan, this weird blend of horror and humor.
And while Okarun's dealing with his newfound granny-infused powers, Momo's out there searching for her own brush with the paranormal.
And she finds it. In a big way.
Oh, she definitely does.
Momo's quest for proof leads her straight to the Serpo aliens. And these guys, they are the stuff of nightmares.
And they haven't exactly come in peace, have they?
Not unless you consider probing and experimenting peacekeeping. These guys have plans for humanity. And those plans don't involve intergalactic sing-alongs, let's just say that.
It's all very War of the Worlds, very unsettling. But here's where things get really interesting. It's during this terrifying alien abduction that Momo's own powers awaken.
Talk about a high-stress situation. It's like something within her just snaps. This latent psychic ability she never even knew she had explodes outward.
It's a real with a friend like this who needs enemies moment. But in all seriousness,
well, as serious as we can be talking about a psychic teenager fighting off aliens while her friend's stuck as a turbocharged granny.
Fair enough. But it's this clash, this initial encounter, that sets the stage for everything that comes next.
Absolutely, because Dandadan isn't just about proving who's right or wrong when it comes to the paranormal. It's about what happens when those lines get blurred, when the impossible becomes undeniable, and how we deal with it.
And let me tell you, things are about to get a whole lot weirder from here on out. So last time we left Momo and Okarun in a pretty sticky situation.
Sticky's one way to put it. They're dealing with a whole buffet of paranormal problems.
That's an understatement.
Turbo Granny's curse is running wild. The Flatwoods monster wants payback. And then there are the spirits of Shono City, just itching for some mayhem.
It's like the universe threw the kitchen sink at these two. And then decided to throw in the stove and refrigerator for good measure.
But you know what's interesting? Amidst all this chaos, Dandadan highlights the power of unlikely friendships.
Right. You've got Momo, the spirit believer, and Okarun, the alien enthusiast. They're complete opposites when it comes to the supernatural, yet they're forced to work together.
To survive. It's that classic the enemy of my enemy trope, but with a paranormal twist.
More like the cosmically cursed acquaintance of my skeptic self is my only hope.
Exactly. But even with their combined might, taking on a vengeful spirit fueled by an entire city's energy is no walk in the park.
So how do you even begin to fight something like that?
Well, if you're Momo, you turn to good old-fashioned wisdom and a children's game.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, Momo challenges Turbo Granny to a game of tag.
Tag. Seriously?
It's a brilliant move when you think about it. See, Turbo Granny thrives on chaos, on the thrill of the chase. A challenge like this plays right into her nature.
But we're not talking about your average playground tag here.
Definitely not. This is a high-stakes race through the heart of Shono City, with the fate of, well, pretty much everyone hanging in the balance.
And remember, this is the same city where those giant heads popped up.
Don't remind me, it's like the city itself has become this paranormal obstacle course.
And what a course it is. We're talking high-speed chases, narrow escapes. Turbo Granny pulls out all the stops to catch Momo and Okarun.
It's giving speed, but with a supernatural twist.
Instead of a bomb on a bus, it's a vengeful spirit on a collision course with a spirit trap.
And this isn't just any old ghost trap. We're talking about a barrier created by Momo's grandmother, a line in the sand that spirits can't cross.
Talk about a badass grandma.
Seriously, she deserves her own spin-off.
So picture this. Momo and Okarun are racing against time, trying to lure Turbo Granny onto a speeding train, and then across this barrier before she catches them.
All while dodging possessed townspeople and who knows what else.
Because, of course, it can't be that easy.
This is Dandadan, remember. There's always another layer of weirdness.
So as the train speeds towards that barrier, we're left with more questions than answers. Will Momo and Okarun make it out of Shono City in one piece? Can they appease those restless spirits? We'll find out soon enough. Okay, so we left off with Momo and Okarun hurtling towards freedom, on a speeding train, no less, with Turbo Granny in hot pursuit.
Talk about a wild ride.
And as if that wasn't enough, they've got an entire posse of possessed townspeople on their tail.
It's like something out of a horror movie marathon, where the marathon's being hosted by a very energetic granny.
And as the train gets closer to that barrier, that line in the sand drawn by Momo's grandma.
The tension just keeps ramping up.
But even with everything on the line, Momo doesn't just rely on her powers. She uses her brain, too.
She's playing 3D chess while everyone else is stuck on tic-tac-toe.
Exactly. She remembers her grandmother's teachings about the spirit world, the power of rituals in specific locations. She's not just fighting, she's strategizing.
And that's what makes Momo such a great protagonist. She's got guts, but she's also got a good head on her shoulders.
So they reach that barrier. The train practically skids across the threshold. Turbo Granny clinging on for dear life.
I can imagine the sound of that wind whipping past.
And just when you think Turbo Granny's about to break free, something incredible happens.
It's like the universe itself takes a deep breath and then exhales this wave of pure emotion.
As Turbo Granny is torn away from the train, separated from Okarun and the possessed townspeople,
we see this side of her we haven't seen before.
This vulnerability. It's heartbreaking, honestly.
Because that's when Dandadan throws another curveball at us. Just when you think you've got Turbo Granny figured out.
Bam. Backstory time.
And what a backstory it is. We learn that those young girls we saw earlier, they were murdered. And Turbo Granny, drawn to their pain, she merged with the spirit of that place, not to cause harm, but to protect them, to ease their suffering.
And just like that, her relentless pursuit, all that chaotic energy, it takes on a whole new meaning.
It's a powerful reminder that things aren't always what they seem.
That even the most seemingly antagonistic forces can be driven by love and grief.
And that sometimes all it takes is a little understanding to bridge the gap between fear and compassion.
In the end, Momo and Okarun walk away from this experience forever changed.
They've stared down some seriously strange stuff.
Faced down their fear.
And come out the other side stronger.
And they've done it together.
Proving that even the most unlikely of friendships can blossom in the face of the unknown.
So what's the takeaway here? What can we learn from this wild, hilarious, and often heartwarming story?
I think Dandadan reminds us that the world is a strange and wonderful place.
Full of mysteries we may never fully understand.
But that doesn't mean we should shy away from them.
It's in those moments when we confront the unknown, when we embrace the weird and the wonderful,
that we truly discover what it means to be human.
Well said. Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries until our next deep dive into the unknown. Stay curious, everyone.